Do you ever wish there was something you could do for your family that would make life so much easier if anything happened to you? Well, actually, there's a lot of things you can do. And among them are 5 wishes that you can share with your family. And our guest today is going to talk all about that. So stay tuned. Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Scan FYI. Hey, Mary Beth, how are you?
Good morning, Andrea. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm struggling with the fact that it's June 2nd. It's
Yeah.
June. I'm just struggling with the fact that it's June.
May seem to fly.
Yeah, the whole year has really, we just, Memorial Weekend, and suddenly we're plunged into summer. At least I hope we are.
Yes.
So here we are. We're
Here
in
we
June,
are.
everybody.
Here we are, June 2nd. So we're going to kick off the month of June with a special guest this morning, Jennifer Dral of Ascend Hospice Care, talking about a very important topic. Advanced planning means having conversations with our family. So good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning, ladies. Happy to be
Hi,
here.
Jennifer. Yeah, thanks for joining us again.
My pleasure.
So I think one of the whole issues that came up with the pandemic, and Mary Beth and I have talked about this with our guests for quite some time now, is the realization that, anything could happen to you or someone else at any time, and the importance of being prepared. And I think that's kind of where we're going to go today, about that preparation and what does it really mean?
That's so important.
So there is that expression, advanced planning, an advance directive. So let's even start out by telling everyone, what exactly do we mean by that? I think we can never assume that everyone knows.
Sure. So advanced planning is exactly that. It's planning in advance. So down the line, if you're in a position where you are unable to make your health decisions for yourself or express those decisions, you've already made someone aware of those decisions, whether you've chosen a person to make decisions for you or you've put them down on paper. I mean, I do so many presentations and I can't stress enough the importance of having those wishes known. If you have really strong feelings about what you do or don't want done in the event that you're not able to make your own medical decisions, it's so important to get that recorded and have some form of advanced planning in place.
I think what people have to realize is that if you don't make your own plan, I guess the state of New Jersey or whatever state you live in they're going to make the plan. And it might not
or
be
a family member. Yep.
Yeah, right. It might not be what you want. So
you got to make your wishes known. So
Yeah.
How do we go about doing that?
Right.
That's a great question. There's actually a few different forms of advanced planning that we see. The first is simply choosing a healthcare proxy. That's sometimes known as a medical POA or power of attorney. And that's a person that you're choosing to make healthcare decisions for you if you're in a position that you're unable to make those decisions for yourself. So it's a person that you're electing, and that would only come into play if you were truly unable to make those decisions or express those decisions. So that person wouldn't be making your day-to-day healthcare decisions if you're alert and able to express your opinions. That only comes into play in extreme circumstances where you're not able to make those decisions or express those decisions. And in terms of choosing that person, you want to choose wisely. You don't want to just choose your next of kin, your closest family member. You want to pick someone who is going to be able to follow your wishes.
Right.
So for me, I would never ask my mom to be my healthcare proxy. She's too close and would want to do whatever she could to keep me with her. So you want to choose someone that is close to you, of course, but is able to separate themselves emotionally enough to follow your wishes and make the decisions that you would want to be made. And it's scary because I've seen cases where a healthcare proxy did not follow a person's advance directives, and you wouldn't think it happens, but it does, because that person was just too close emotionally. So when it came time to make those decisions, they didn't necessarily follow the wishes of their loved ones. So you want to choose someone that will carry out your wishes.
Because someone who's too close to you, you know, it's a very emotional thing.
Yes.
And the whole point of doing this is to have someone who is going to follow your wishes, not
Right.
their heart, their emotions. Yeah, that's a critical factor. Okay.
Yeah. Another form is the POLST form, POLST. And what that stands for is Physician's Orders for Life-Sustaining Treatment, or Practitioner's Orders for Life-Sustaining Treatment. So this is a relatively new format in the state of New Jersey. It's just in the last few years that we've been seeing this. And the difference between a POLST form and a traditional living will per se is that it's actual physician's orders or practitioner's orders. So it's a one-page form that starts with goals of care, which I think is important for any advanced planning, is to have your goals of care. You know, really what's most important to you.
Right.
And then it flows from there. Again, it's broken into a few different sections. It's looking at medical interventions, you know, what specific interventions do you want? Do you not want? Do you want artificial hydration and nutrition or a feeding tube to be used? Do you want to be resuscitated? So a DNR, which is a do not resuscitate order, or a DNI, do not intubate order. So that would be, you know, putting in an artificial breathing tube if you were unable to breathe on your own. There is a place in there that you would designate your healthcare proxy, and then it needs to be signed by a physician. So again, this is a physician's order. The nice thing about a POLST form is that it's something that travels with you. So if you've been in a subacute rehab, most subacute rehabs now are doing this upon admission, but it's something that if you go out to the hospital, it goes with you. So it's considered a portable or transferable form. And it's green, so that's something that kind of sets it aside. It's a green one-page form.
So by the way, to our viewers out there, we'll put links on the internet. So if you want to find these forms and read about them, don't worry, I will put links out on Facebook and YouTube so you can locate them.
Jennifer, is that something you would carry on you then? Or do you just keep it filed safely somewhere in your home that someone would know where to get it?
So if you're in a nursing home, it's in the front of your chart. And if you went out to the hospital, it would transfer with you. So this is something that we're usually seeing in medical places or medical settings. It's a little bit different than your traditional advanced planning, but it is something that you're seeing. It's a term that's being kind of bounced about when we're in medical settings. So I did just want to mention that. Most people, if you're at home, if you're, you know, able to be out and about and you're ambulatory and taking care of yourself, probably wouldn't have a POLST form outside of a hospital or a nursing home.
Okay, thank you.
So Jennifer, also, would you describe what is a living will? Because that's another term that we hear all the time in
Yes.
you know, in this.
Yep, most people that have an advance directive would have a living will. So a living will is an actual legal document that has all of your wishes for in the event that you're not able to make your own medical treatment or make your own medical decision, sorry.
Yeah.
So it would have things in there like, you know, cases where you do or don't want to be resuscitated. If you wanted to receive IV hydration or a feeding tube in the event that you were not able to take in food and drink on your own. It usually will have a medical power of attorney that's part of that. But for most living wills, they're bulky legal documents with a lot of medical jargon, a lot of legal jargon. It needs to be completed with an attorney. So it's a legal form.
All right. And, you know, that's a great segue because, yeah, all of this these are all legal documents. You have to see an attorney for it, as you said. And I suspect what puts a lot of people off is just the whole idea that they have to see an attorney.
Yes.
And they're going to come away with this very cumbersome legal document that doesn't always mean much of anything to you when you read it.
Right.
But we do have another option, right? And I'll let you talk about that.
Absolutely. I think that the traditional living will can be very intimidating because it can be 20, 30 pages long and you have to go and sit down with an attorney to do it. So I think sometimes just making the step to put together your advanced plan can be intimidating. I'll tell you, we're in the middle of some medical testing with my mom who's getting older. And when you go to a new doctor or to a testing place, one of the questions that they ask you is if you have an advance directive.
They do.
And,
Yeah.
she was so like, no, I don't have an advance directive. I'm not dying. And I said, Mom, you don't wait until you're dying to put together your advance directive. This is something that you do in advance. That's why it's called an advance directive. But I think sometimes just the thought of making those decisions can be scary. It can be uncomfortable. So one of the forms that I just love, I mean, I can't say enough good things about it, is the 5 wishes. It's a very simple document. It is so straightforward. It doesn't have a ton of legal jargon and complicated medical terms. The other piece of it that I love is that it's not just talking about your health decision. It's talking about things that you want your loved ones to know. It's talking about how you want people to treat you at end of life. It's really, you used a term earlier today, that mind, body, and spirit. It's not just looking at the physical piece of it. And I think that's so nice because so many of your typical advance directives and living wills don't look at that whole person. They're really just looking at those specific medical decisions. And I love that 5 wishes really is a whole person kind of a living will. So I'm going to quickly go through the 5 wishes and what exactly those wishes are. So the first of the wishes is that healthcare proxy. It's who is that person that you want to make decisions for you in the event that you're not able to make them for yourself. And you're pretty much going through and naming that person, their address, their contact information. And it does give you an opportunity to name secondary or what's the word for third person. Thank you. Should you need them and that initial person that you're designating maybe has passed or is incapacitated since you've made this form. So it does give you opportunity to name a second and a third as well. Just a couple of asides in choosing your healthcare proxy. They have to be over 18. You should not be choosing your healthcare provider or an employee of your healthcare provider. So really anyone other than that. So it can be a family member, it can be a friend, it can be a coworker, it can be really anyone that you trust to make your healthcare decisions for you in the event that you're not able to make those decisions. And one of the things that I really love about the 5 wishes is that it goes to specific things, and then you can either cross them out or circle them. So it'll say things like, interpret any instructions that I've given in this form according to my healthcare agent's understanding of my wishes. Another choice might be consent to an admission to an assisted living facility, hospital, hospice, or nursing home for me. So you're really specifying what are the things that your healthcare proxy is able to decide for you.
Well, as you said, it gives you a lot of options. You literally can just check them off or cross them out, or there's an area where you can write in your own words. So it's such a personal document. It's really all about what you want.
Yes. And if you are a person who has really strong feelings about things that you do or don't want done, it's important to complete this. What I always say is this is a gift that you're giving to your loved ones, to your family members. It's if you've ever been in a position where you've had to make end of life decisions for someone else, that can be such a gut-wrenching time for someone. But if you've already laid out those decisions and made them known, all someone has to do is follow your wishes. They're not having to make those decisions for you because you've already made them and put them down on paper. Right. So I always say it's a gift. It's a gift that you're giving to your loved ones at a very difficult time.
And it's your assurance that you will be getting what you want, not what other people figure out what they want, not what you want. What's best for them, what's easier for them. Yeah.
Absolutely. So after you've chosen that person to make those decisions or carry out your decisions, wish number 2 is my wish for the kind of medical treatment I want or don't want.
Yes.
And this is broken into a few different sections. So the first is what you should keep in mind as my caregiver. And again, there's a few different things that you can X out or not, depending on what your wishes are. So one of them is I do not want to be in pain. I want my doctor to give me enough medicine to relieve my pain, even if that means that I might be drowsy or sleep more than I would otherwise. So those are the kinds of things that you're choosing or not choosing. There's now that then there's a section where you're actually writing in what life support treatment means to me. And again, I love that because it's asking, what does that mean to you? So it's not, the legal definition of life support treatment. It's what it means to me. So maybe it's medical devices that are helping you breathe, whether it's food or water that are being supplied by a medical device, whether it's having CPR done, whether it's having surgery or blood transfusions or dialysis. So it's what that life support treatment means to me personally. The next section is in the case of an emergency. Do you want to be resuscitated? Do you not want to be resuscitated? And the next part is really what I love. It's broken down into different situations, so to speak. So if you're close to death, if you have permanent and severe brain damage and you're not expected to recover, if you're in a coma and you're not expected to wake up or recover, or if there's another condition that you don't wish to be kept alive, and you're making choices of those different circumstances. So it gets very specific. You're not just making a blanket statement that, okay, well, I don't want to be resuscitated if I ever need. It's specific and kind of circumstantial. And I think that's great because for a lot of people, it is circumstantial. Well, okay, if I just have a heart attack, but I'm healthy otherwise, I do want to be resuscitated. But if I'm in a circumstance of recovering, that's a different decision. So I love that it breaks it down into those specific circumstances. Wish number 3 is my wish for how comfortable I want to be. So again, it's just something that you're crossing out the things that you don't agree with and leaving the things that you do agree with. So some of those choices are, I do not want to be in pain. I want my doctor to give me enough medicine to relieve my pain. Another one is, I want to have a cool, moist cloth put on my head if I have a fever. I wish to have my favorite music played when possible until my time of death. I wish to have religious readings and well-loved poems read aloud when I'm near death. So again, it's not just those medical things.
Right.
It's things that are important to you. It's things that make you feel comfort. And that's personal.
That if a lawyer, no offense to lawyers out there, but if lawyers had drafted this up for you, none of this is going to be included in there. None of it. So
you'll just have those
personal
medical decisions.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, these comfort measures are just as important. How they want their last days to be spent, the things that they want their loved ones to do for them and with them. That's just as important to a lot of people as the medical decisions. So wish number 4 is my wish for how I want people to treat me. And again, there's a list of different things that you can cross out if you don't like or leave if you do want in there. I wish to have people with me when possible. I want someone to be with me when it seems that death may come at any time. And that's not the case for everyone. Some people don't want someone right there at bedside. But if you do, you have that wish expressed and recorded. I wish to have others by my side praying for me when possible. I wish to have pictures of my loved ones in my room near my bed. I want to die in my home if that's possible. So I love that these are things that you can have recorded and respected during those last days. Because like I said, that's just as important as the medical decisions. And then wish number 5 is I want my loved ones to know.
Yeah, this
and
is important. Yeah.
Yes. And not everyone gets to have those final conversations. For some people, medical circumstances may change quickly and they may not have the opportunity to have some of those conversations. So it's so nice to be able to have some of this down on paper for you. I wish to have my family and friends know that I love them. I wish to be forgiven for times that I may have hurt my family and friends and others. I wish for my family members to make peace with each other before my death if they can.
That's a
Yes, yes, it really is. I wish for my family and friends to look at my dying as a time of personal growth for everyone, including me. This will help me live a meaningful life in my final days. Some really beautiful things. There's also a few things in here around funeral or after someone dies, their wishes. After my death, I would like my body to be buried or cremated. My body or remains should be put in the following location. If you've let someone know your funeral wishes or arrangements, who that person is. And then there's a few questions at the end that I think are really beautiful. One is, if anyone asks how I want to be remembered, please say the following about me. If there is a memorial service for me, I wish for this service to include the following, and you can list music, songs, readings, prayers, any specific wishes or requests that you have around that. And these are the kinds of things that are never in a traditional living will.
Yeah.
So I love that this goes into so much more depth and makes it so much more personal and meaningful, and looks at more than just your physical body and your medical decisions.
So once again, reminding everyone, the company, what is it, agingwithdignity.org, I believe is.
Yes.
And I will put links to all of that out there so that you can locate it. But you know what I want to say that's real, there's another part of this that sometimes people forget, Jennifer, is that, all right, you take the time to fill it all out, you do all the work. If you don't share it with your loved ones or the people that you've mentioned in there, honestly, it's like you never did it, because how will they know?
You're absolutely right. So the next most important part of this is, what do we do now that we've filled this out?
Right.
So on the last page of the 5 wishes is where you're signing. So you are, of course, signing this, but it needs to be witnessed by 2 people, and it cannot be your healthcare proxy who witnesses this. So it can really be anyone else that can witness this for you. So 2 people would sign off and put their information that it's been witnessed. And at that point, this is legally binding in New Jersey. You do not need to have this notarized in the state of New Jersey. There are a few states where it does need to be notarized, but New Jersey is not one of those states. So if you have completed it, signed it, and had it witnessed, this is now your living will. So what do you do with this? So you want to make sure that you discuss this with your family members, with your doctor. Your doctor should have a copy of this. Your family members should have a copy of this, and your copy should not be locked in a safe deposit box. It should not be kept in the filing cabinet with bills and taxes and everything else. It should be somewhere where it's easily accessible.
Where somebody knows where to find it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you can put it on your refrigerator. You can put it, in a safe place where it's accessible. There is a little card that you can cut out on the back cover that says that you have a 5 wishes advance directive and where it's located. So this is fantastic because, God forbid you're in a car accident. Most people don't have their 5 wishes in their bag with them. So this at least lets someone know that if you are taken to the hospital, that you have a 5 wishes advance directives and where it can be found at home. This is something that if you are admitted to an assisted living, or if you go to a nursing home, you should bring with you so that they have it on file as well.
So if you're out there and you're listening to this, you really owe it to yourself and your family to do something, whether it's the 5 wishes or something else. But if you don't make the choice, somebody makes it for you. Yes. And nobody wants that, right? We all like to think that we have a say over our own destiny. But if you haven't put down something in writing, you don't have that say at all.
You're absolutely right. As I've said, if you have strong feelings about what you do or don't want done in the
Right.
event that you're not able to make those decisions or express your wishes, it's so important to have this done. It doesn't mean that you're planning on dying next week. This is something that any adult should be thinking about and should be getting down on paper in the event that something happens and they're not able to make those decisions. And as you said at the beginning with COVID, I mean, so many people went from being perfectly healthy and able to tell you what their thoughts are in the event that they needed to being in a hospital on a ventilator.
Right.
And those people were not able to say what their wishes were. So you never know what's going to happen. And it's an absolute gift to give to your family and loved ones in the event that they have to make these decisions for you, to have already made them and they just need to follow them for you.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. I think it's such an important thing. You know what else? It's not just about dying, because you could have a temporary, be incapacitated temporarily, or there's just so many things that could happen. Unfortunately, we have to just take a hard, cold look at reality and spare our family. It's a terrible thing when you have to do this for a loved one,
It is.
when you don't have a clue what they wanted because they never told anybody. So yeah, 5 wishes, everybody, or whatever else you would like to do something, right? That's the important thing.
Yes, that's the takeaway, is get those wishes down in some way, shape, or form before you need to.
Yeah. Right. Well, Jennifer Dral from Ascend Hospice, thank you so much for being our guest today. I hope everyone learned a lot.
Thank you for having me today.
Okay. And remember, everyone, if it's important to you, it's important to us. I'm Andrea Tarr. We'll see you next time on Scan FYI. Bye, everyone.
Good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.